Good. Well, first of all, thank you for being here today. We have a wonderful session on a topic which we all care about. Before we kick off, just a quick intro from me. My name is Alex Maloof. I'm on the ABG board. We'll do a very quick 10-second security briefing. Exits, as you can imagine, you came through one of them. On my right, on your left. There's also another one on your right, on my left, and also the bathroom to just by reception. Security, done. Nice and easy. Okay, so with that, I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'd like to ask our Vice Chair, Elder Shukar, CEO of PhD Mina, to come up and just talk to you about this event and why we are doing what we are doing. Over to you, Elder.
On behalf of the ABG board, please allow me to welcome you this morning to our second speaker series. So we launched the speaker series with the ambition to drive and inspire dialogue across our marketing and communications industry. The ABG's ambition is to advocate responsible advertising. And what better topic than today's gender stereotyping? As advertisers, we have the power to influence culture and society. And we do that when we positively portray and showcase people being progressive, modern, authentic, and multidimensional. But the question is, do we do that? As an industry, are we perpetuating stereotyping? And to what extent are we doing that? Stereotyping is a global big topic in our industry. Locally, the translation and the treatment of this topic may be different, but to think it's not there, I think is not it would be a fool to think that. I think it's important that we discuss it and create awareness for it. In order to broaden the conversation, I'm really delighted to welcome with us today 3 key speakers. So we have Philip Thomas, the CEO of Accenture Events and Chairman of Cannes Lions, and he will showcase work from this year's Cannes. So welcome. We have Noha Hafni. She's the Senior Consultant Strategic Partnerships and Communications at UN Women, and she will talk to us about the growing alliance between the ABG and the UN Women on stereotyping. And we have Peter York, Head of Brand and EMEA at Procter & Gamble, and he will showcase some case studies and tell us how they resonated with consumers. Each session will end with a Q&A, so have your questions ready, and thank you.
Formalities.
Sorry.
I know you're keen. We are delighted to have Phil here. He's the CEO, Chairman of Cannes Lions. I had the privilege of judging this year, and the work at Cannes is the best you'll see by far anywhere in the globe. Also, as well, Cannes is affiliated with Dubai Lynx. Dubai Lynx is essentially the same for the Middle East. And what was fascinating, which you'll talk about more, the big topic was the issue of gender parity in terms of the awards this year. So with that, I'd like to ask you to come up and talk about this issue and what it means to the industry.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Morning, everybody. A clicker. Thanks very much for asking me here. I really appreciate it, and especially to talk to you on this particular subject, which is a subject that is very close to our heart at Cannes Lions, and also, of course, extremely close to the whole industry's heart. So what I'm going to do over the next sort of 3 hours approximately, no, it'll be about 30 minutes or so. We're going to look at quite a lot of work. We're going to show you some work, which is, let's be honest, the whole point of this, because it's about how we show people in the world. So we're going to show you quite a bit of work, and I'm also going to show you some clips from talks at Cannes about what we might do as an industry and some thinking around that. I'm going to kick off though with a little edit we did of some of the gender stereotyping work at Cannes this year, just to get us in the mood, and then we'll crack on. If this works.
Giving a woman an opportunity to tell her story, her way, the way she sees it. You're not doing me a favor. It's a gift.
Looks like time's up.
Funky for the first thing in the morning, wasn't it? Oh dear. Hell. What happened there? I don't know. That's not my. I don't have little dogs on there. So I want to tell you a quick story. You can imagine I was at Cannes Lions and I was sitting in my office at Cannes Lions in the middle of the festival one year, and doing what I normally do, which is not very much. And my little phone went, and I got a message from Sheryl Sandberg, one of her staff members. Sheryl Sandberg, of course, COO of Facebook. She was speaking at the festival that year, and the message came through, could Sheryl Sandberg have a word with you? So obviously, when you hear a sentence like that, the answer is yes, of course Sheryl Sandberg can have a word. So I went backstage at Cannes. We've got a green room backstage, a really tiny little horrible green room, and she was sitting there having her makeup done, ready to go onto the stage to talk at the festival. And she said, I only need 5 minutes or so, but I've got an idea. And the idea is that you should launch a lion that is about gender stereotyping. It's about how we show genders, how we portray people in advertising in the world. And I said, that sounds like a very interesting idea, Sheryl, but the answer is no. And the answer is no because we don't have lions about things. We don't have lions about issues. We have lions that show the greatest work in certain types of media, such as film, print, PR, etc. So, although it's a great idea, the answer is no. And she said, hang on. So just think about it. She said, advertising and marketing is the single most powerful creator of culture in the world. She said, if you think about the investment that goes into marketing globally, it dwarfs the movie industry, it dwarfs the TV industry, it dwarfs magazines and newspapers. It is the most powerful creator of culture in the world. And she said, you've got a platform here at Cannes Lions that is the most powerful platform in the world. So you can imagine that if you made a lion that was about gender diversity and gender stereotyping, people would really take notice. And, you know, Sheryl Sandberg's a very, very persuasive individual, as you can imagine. And so after about 5 minutes, I thought about this and I thought, you know what, I think she's absolutely right. Because the more I thought about it, the more I thought, actually, gender isn't one issue in the world. In many ways, it is the issue in the world, because so many other human problems stem from it. And you can go all the way down to poverty, the way families are put together. You know, the more you follow the trail, the more it comes back to gender. And I thought, actually, as an industry, we really have a responsibility to try to make things better. And as we were thinking about it, I thought back to some of the work that we'd had at the festival, and even before we launched the Glass Lion at Cannes, there was still a lot of work that was being made that was about gender. And one of the most famous examples was actually on the left-hand side there was Quai de Castro, which was from Leo Burnett in Beirut, and that was way back in 2008. I'm going to show you that in a minute, but that kind of work was already starting to be done. So I'm going to show you some pieces of work now that I think highlight some of the great work that's been entered into the Glass Lions, but also even before the Glass Lions. And the first bit, as I say, is from 2008. It won a Titanium Lion and a PR Lion, and it was a fantastic idea from Leo Burnett in MENA. So in many ways, MENA led the way. You know, this was one of the most famous gender stereotyping pieces of work that came out of the festival in the last 10 or 15 years. So if I can make this work, I will. Here we go.
Our client, the Hariri Foundation, wanted to address gender inequality in Lebanese society. Through their Women Empowerment Program, the agency chose to do so by tackling it in the people's daily vocabulary. In Arabic, accents are used on words to specifically address them to a man or a woman. If an accent line is placed above the word, it becomes addressed to males. If an accent line is placed below the word, it becomes addressed to females. But most of the time, words are written in printed material without any accent line at all, which makes them addressed to the male gender by default, and the female gender is quite naturally excluded. This is what we turned into a creative opportunity. The accent line that is placed below a word to address it to women is called a kesra. In Arabic, kesra also means habit, hence our call for action with double meaning. خدي كسرة وحركي الأمور, which at its most basic level says to the reader, take the kesra accent and place it below the word. But at the same time, it also says, take the habit of getting things moving. Putting the two meanings together, the reader's final takeout is that you can change things with a small gesture. The campaign started with a multi-visual teasing campaign. We chose 3 strong words relevant to the topic at hand. No accent was placed below or above the words on purpose. Everyone only read the words as being addressed to men. So with the revealers, we changed the word by adding the kasra below it. So for example, haqqak became haqqik. In less than 3 days, it became a hit on the major TV stations. Haqqak, haqqik, خدي كسرة وحركي الأمور. بحركة صغيرة منك ببلش التغيير. Although predominantly visual, our message was adapted to radio.
اضغط على الواحد للغة الإضغام الصفرية تحويلك إلى عاملة. اضغط على الرقم الصحيح. اضغط على الرقم 3 لتسجيل المكالمة.
وانت ما حدا عم بيعبرك؟ اضغطي على المجتمع وعبري عن حالك. خدي كسرة وحركي الأمور. برنامج تمكين المرأة. In press magazines, our ad was physically interactive. Distributing stickers and putting up posters, we encouraged women to literally take the kasra as a symbolic sign of their movement in getting things moving at strategic locations such as universities and supermarkets. Surprisingly, men were just as moved. And for those who didn't have our kasra stickers, they found other creative means to fill in the blanks. The people's reaction surpassed our expectations, as we discovered the wide application of our kasra throughout the streets. We initiated a moving interactive billboard in remote areas to demonstrate the reach and collective power of the Kesra. People would step up to physically change the word by adding their Kesra and contributing side by side to the bigger picture, showing the public display of solidarity. E-debates, bloggers online, and articles in the press passionately discussed the campaign as well as women's rights. As women chose to learn more about the laws on khidikasra.com, they soon discovered the forum to be an outlet for their opinions. It was even spoofed on the #1 national TV station. On the occasion of Women's Day, all famous and popular TV show hosts were encouraged to carry the cause close to their hearts. The Khidi Kesra campaign was featured on Star Academy, the most watched reality show in the Middle East. Renowned journalist Giselle Khouri's show whilst interviewing the Lebanese Prime Minister.
هذه إشارة إلى المرأة اللبنانية خذي كسرة أي لتتحرك أكثر نصف اللبناني.
Prominent Lebanese talk shows tackling political, social and cultural themes.
فتنا الآلية اللي هو خذي كسرة تحقيق تحت عنوان خذي كسرة.
حطيت اليوم دور خذي كسرة وحكي الأمور الحديث عن خذي كسرة وحكي الأمور.
أنا سعيد إني حط الفيلم الخاص بهالحملة في حلقة الليلة خذي كسرة وحركي لقمة.
As the highlight of the campaign, the agency convinced the Minister of Education, Mrs. Bahia Hariri, to crown the campaign during a broadcast event to encourage prominent women in society to walk the talk. Though the road to full gender equality is long, this simple campaignable act was the first of its kind in the whole Arab region and the first important step in the right direction.
So I think it's really great that there's a piece of work like that from an organisation like that. But that's not what Sheryl Sandberg was talking about when she had the idea for the Glass Lion. She was talking about the power of marketing. And it's so great to see so many clients in the room because it's really the clients that are going to make the difference, the ones with the money and the brands that really can make a difference. And I think this next campaign, which I'm sure you know very, very well, I'll certainly show you part of it, I may not show you all of it, was a great example of a client stepping up. Now, Procter & Gamble have stepped up big time when it comes to gender diversity. I was in New York last week, actually, speaking at an event that Mark Pritchard, who is the global CMO of Procter & Gamble, was talking at. Very passionate about it, and a lot of the work that P&G have done, and others, of course Unilever as well, has been around gender. So this is the very famous winner from a couple of years ago.
Hi Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to just give you some actions to do, and just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
Hair.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aww. My name is Dakota and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, I don't know what it really, if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time, between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time they're already trying to figure themselves out. And when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And what advice do you have to young girls who are told they run like a girl, kick like a girl, hit like a girl, swim like a girl?
Keep doing it, because it's working. If somebody else says that running like a girl or kicking like a girl or shooting like a girl is something that you shouldn't be doing, that's their problem. Because if you're still scoring and you're still getting to the ball on time and you're still being first, you're doing it right. It doesn't matter what they say. I mean, yes, I kick like a girl and I swim like a girl and I walk like a girl and I wake up in the morning like a girl because I am a girl. And that's not something that I should be ashamed of. So I'm going to do it anyway. That's what they should do.
If I asked you to run like a girl now, would you do it differently?
I would run like myself.
Would you like a chance to redo it?
So that's
Why can't run like a girl also mean win the race?
So that was obviously a brand stepping up in a really, really famous campaign. I'm going to show you another one now from Mexico, because this is something that people are doing from all over the world. Our winners for the Glass Lions come from literally all over the world. And this is a piece from last year from Mexico that you may not have seen. So here we go.
La violencia es una forma extrema de discriminación contra las mujeres.
A man is not defined by his strength, his image, his courage, his anger, toughness, or his sexual orientation. A man is defined by how he treats a woman. If you're not a man, you don't deserve a Tecate. You don't need your business. Don't reach for one. I hope you hate it. You're not one of us. Not one word for you. Tecate, standing against domestic violence.
So again, a really big brand, Heineken, obviously, I don't know if you saw that, Heineken beer, effectively saying to their consumers, if you behave like this, we don't want you as consumers. Really, really brave. So the next piece I'm going to show you, you probably may well have seen, it dominated the festival a couple of years ago, 19 Lions it won. And it just takes things a little bit further in terms of activation and symbolism.
And the problem is this: women are not making it to the top of any profession anywhere in the world.
marking the occasion by placing this statue of a little girl staring down the iconic charging ball.
The new image was put up by State Street Global Advisors.
Powerful little girl.
Representing women's daily experience of having to face a ton of bull.
There's certain values like diversity that have a return.
The fact that the industry has acknowledged this fund is quite important.
The most famous girl in all of New York City.
La niña sin miedo.
People, young and old, are flocking to her.
The fearless girl on Wall Street has already made a lasting impression.
The hottest selfie in town still.
As she's become a social media phenomenon, Fearless Girl has also become a broader symbol of female empowerment.
19,000, 25,000, 28,000, 30,000 people have already signed a petition to keep the statue here longer.
The Fearless Girl will be allowed to remain at her post.
This statue has crystallized this moment in history.
My generation fought for the women of today, so that little girl is saying a lot.
So I just want to show you one other little piece you may not have seen, because actually the work at Cannes goes all the way down to the shortlisted work. It's not just about the Grand Prix and the golds and the silvers. There's some wonderful stuff in the shortlist. And this piece was shortlisted. It's from this region, and you almost certainly won't have seen it. I don't think you'd have seen it, but it's a really great example of what can be done and the jewels that you can find in the winners at Cannes.
Meshrour Leila is an independent Lebanese band whose songs against issues affecting the Middle East deserve to travel globally. To promote their new album, we tapped into a major issue facing Middle Eastern women.
Defenders of Islam insist it is a peaceful religion. Others disagree and point to the primitive treatment in Muslim countries of women, oppressed and hidden,
Imprisoned behind a mask.
Muslims right now are the new boogeymen of our time. So I want to stand up and change the narrative, take back that narrative.
We identified an unreleased song that was not part of their album, and with an Arab woman director, we created a music video giving its original lyrics about betrayal a new meaning, about rebellion and empowerment, showing Arab women doing something we only see Western women do in music videos, dancing, disrupting the global narrative on Arab feminism, and added the song to their album.
الكلام راح يحرق حرقي بس قبل ما تبني اللي شو كان صاري
So, there's some work, just a tiny example, tiny proportion of the work that we get every year at Cannes, showing how powerful advertising can be, marketing can be, and the responsibility that we all have to try to move these things forward. I suppose the question then, if you take a step back, is, why? Why bother with any of this? Why are we all in this room? Why did we launch the Glass Lions? Why does Procter & Gamble care so much? Why does Unilever care so much? The big question is why, and it's a comment that has constantly come up at Cannes. It's a subject that is constantly discussed on the stage at Cannes. So I'm going to show you a couple of clips now from the stage The first is from a woman called Madonna Badger. She runs an agency in New York who did a lot of work into what happens when you portray gender in a negative way. What happens to your brand? Can you measure that? And can you see the upside of portraying gender in a positive way? So this is the wonderful Madonna Badger explaining the business behind this idea and why it matters.
The objectification in all that we do is not only the right thing to do, it is the smart thing to do. Women are rejecting the ads that they see. 91%, according to one study, 91% of women say that advertisers don't understand them, which is especially scary since women control or influence a $20 trillion US economy, which is bigger than the economies of India and China combined. Imagine if we spoke to women and portrayed them with respect and empathy, depicting their full humanity, making a real connection. There has been a lot of progress, and there are many, many, many people that are mighty giants that have walked down this road before me and have done incredible work, like a girl, I will what I want, touch the pickle. These are incredible examples of what happens when we empower women and girls in the ads that we create. And they also seem to win a lot of lions. BT dub. So we knew from our academic research that there was real harm that had been done to women and girls and teens. The amount of information out there from an academic standpoint is really incredible. But what about the harm to the brands that we work for? Because at the end of the day, that's what we do for a living. We wanted real data to know the positive, negative effect that objectification has on women and on all consumers. We partnered with Shelley Zallis, who is the former CEO of Ipsos and is now of the Girls Lounge, to create a new industry metric to understand the effect objectification has on the reputation of your brands, as well as on people's purchasing intent. For our study, we chose brands in different categories, from cars to spirits, and each brand was portrayed in an objectifying ad and a non-objectifying one. Here are a few of the ads we tested. Both are for Mentos, obviously. And you know, listen, I've been objectifying women for a long time. You know, I worked in the beauty and fashion industry for most of my career. So this is not about blame or shame or any of that kind of stuff. This is about knowledge and how do we move forward. And so that's why I'm showing you guys this stuff today. The top line findings are startling. Across more than 2,700 consumers, ages 13 to 74, the objectification of women had a negative effect on every KPI tested across every consumer group. Objectification is disastrous to your brand's reputation and extremely damaging to purchase intent, to the point that they are not likely to want to have any further interaction with your brand. This has a very negative effect, as people do not want to buy whatever it is that we're trying to sell.
That's a really good, if you get a chance, you can go onto our website and watch the whole of that speech. It's really, really powerful in terms of the exact measurement of why these things are important. But then the question becomes, you know, what can you do about it? What steps can you actually take once you've accepted the theory? What can you then do about it? And this is a panel that Mark Pritchard took in Cannes. He had Madonna on the panel. He also had Tina Brown, and he had Sheryl Sandberg as well, talking about some ideas about what you can actually do should you decide that portraying gender in a positive way is going to be good for your brand. Let's assume we've all decided that. What can we do about it?
What is it? One action you want everybody to take as they're coming out of here today to be able to really promote gender equality? Madame.
Mentorship. I think be a mentor and find a mentor, and don't mind if it's whatever the genders are. It's better to sort of ask people that don't have the same experience as you and really understand where they're coming from.
Great.
Co-op the men's spaces for this message. I was very pleased that Takante Beer won something that shows domestic violence in terms of the Beer Act, because that's great. Get into that space, make that message, make it uncool, treat women badly.
Cheryl?
Change the culture. Yes, this group here.
And I'd add one more. Collaborate for good. Join an industry alliance. This is something, gender equality, is not a place that you can distinguish or differentiate yourself on. Join an alliance, such as ANA CEHR, Free the Bid, to promote women directors, the Gina Davis Institute, and the UN Women initiatives. UN Women has two major initiatives that are out that they announced this week. They announced the Unstereotype Alliance, which will eliminate stereotypes in advertising, and announced the Gender Attitude Study, where every year for the next 10 years in over 40 countries, we will see whether attitudes are changing as a result of the work that we're doing.
So this is a really interesting point, actually, because I was talking to Mark Pritchard about this, and he was saying, we've got to get to the stage where we're not talking about this, we're actually acting. So he mentioned Free the Bid there. Free the Bid is an attempt to make sure that when a commercial is sent out to production companies, that there are 50-50% men and women on the director's roster. And HP have announced that they will not deal with an agency whose creative team do not reflect the wider society. So if an HP marketer walks into a room at an agency and sees a room full of men, they will not work with that agency. So the question then becomes, how much pressure can you put on your partners to try to change these things? And I think the feeling very strongly from a lot of marketers around the world is, how are we ever going to produce advertising that reflects the world if the room is full of the same kind of people? This is Tiffany R. Warren, who's the diversity officer for Omnicom globally, making another point about how it doesn't matter who you are, you've got a part to play in changing things.
And when those teams are diverse ideas happen. And often the marginalized are asked to make a business case for diversity. So those individuals that are on the margins are asked to make a business case about diversity. And so for me, it's really about, let's talk about, can you make the business case for sameness? I don't think any company in this world will sit down in a boardroom and talk about how sameness has made them successful.
So it's a good point, isn't it? So can you make a business case for the fact that everybody looks the same in a room? And at the festival at Cannes, we've kind of taken things a bit of a step further beyond gender diversity and just more general diversity. So if you're in a room, has everyone got the same point of view? Has everybody been educated to the same level? Is everyone the same colour? Those kind of questions are now being asked. Because as Tiffany was saying in her speech there, actually the ideas are a lot better. You come out with much better ideas if there are different kinds of people in the room. So I'm going to end on a panel discussion that was took place in Cannes this year about what men can do, because a lot of this is not a question of kind of us and them. It really is a question of people coming together. And of course, in a lot of places, men do have a lot of power. And so what can men do to try to make things improve? This was a panel from this year's Cannes.
As a takeaway, when you're hearing somebody say something about, you know, women won't like this, or nobody wants them in the boardroom, Michael, quickly, what would a man should say? What should a man say?
About that? I'm not down with that at all. And the reality is, most of us aren't. Most men, you know, when they say, tell me what to say, I don't know what to say, they're saying, I mean, this is the truth. Most men don't want to be jerks. This is a good starting place.
We have to tell them they're jerks first, right?
They don't want to.
Like, t-shirt, don't be a jerk. Okay.
I mean, I agree, and I think, you know, if men, I know it can be scary and brave to speak up in a boardroom when someone says something sexist, but think about the 80 women that just stood up and confronted Harvey Weinstein with horrible stories. So you can be brave enough to say something in a corporate boardroom.
Oh, there it is.
There they are. Go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Amy.
I'm finished.
Oh, you're done. Okay. So one of the takeaways is co-create. Get on there with a brand and make sure that you are saying through this brand, you know, let's talk about the new man, the new masculinity. Another one, support the left behinds. We call them the left behinds, a helpline maybe for men, because as you said, they don't know what to do, they don't want to be a jerk, but they have nobody to talk to. And the last one I wanted to say is, this is a fact, change or die.
So, honestly, most men don't want to be jerks, honestly. I know most of the time we are, but we don't want to be jerks, as they say. And most men want to try and make things better, as we've seen. So, I think from that moment that Sheryl Sandberg had this idea, what we've seen, certainly at Cannes Lions, is a focus and a kind of lens on this great work that is moving things forward. And the objectification of women is now moving into the representation of gender in a much more positive way. So we feel a responsibility at our festivals to try and focus and shine a light on the greatest work that is out there. And so because of that, we are going to launch at Lynx next year, Dubai Lynx, 10th to the 13th of March 2019. We're going to launch the glass Lynx. And what we hope to do is to shine a light on the great work from the MENA region. There is actually lots of great stuff. You've seen two great examples this morning of wonderful work from the MENA region. And we want to focus on that. We want to shine a light on that. We want to make that work really, really famous. One of the things we do with the entry profits that we get from the Glass Lions is we give them money to charities. So we give them money to gender-related charities. And over the years, we've given nearly $1 million to gender-related charities through the Glass Lion entry fees. We will be doing the same for the Lynx entry fees. So we'll be choosing local gender charities in the MENA region to donate that money to. So we're hoping for a lot of great work and a lot of great entries, hopefully from many people in this room. But I hope what I've shown today is really, I think, two linked points. The first point is that portraying gender in a positive way is really, really good business. Women do account for more than 80% of purchasing decisions globally. And therefore, you would think it would make pretty good business sense to address them in a positive way. So the first point is, businesses have realized that. Great advertisers like Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and many others have realized that. And then linked, and almost as important, is what is the makeup of the people in the room when they're having discussions about this work? What is the makeup of the creative team that is putting the work together? Because the outcome is directly linked to the diversity of the people in the room. So, that's me done. Thank you very much for listening. It was a great presentation because I did very little talking and they did most of the talking. Best kind of presentation. But I do hope you found it interesting. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Before we go, we are going to do a Q&A because you've given us a lot to talk about, think about, and we have you here over from Europe, so let's make use of the occasion. So, does anyone have any questions especially with the announcement at the end.
I ask a weird question. There's some small detail that makes me a bit annoying. Now, when we talk about all the stuff I have seen in the presentation, when you talk as well, as business people, we say the purchasing power of the woman, the decision power of the woman on the purchasing or shopping decision as consumer. Are we really sincere about the women empowerment, or we are just looking at, yeah, this is a good market? That makes me, quite irritated, because I think that as business people, we should support and we should put our commitment, dedication, whatever you call, as human beings, because we are talking about half of the humanity. We cannot talk about all this kind of things in the presentation, because women has the, decision power, or women has a 20 billion market, therefore it's important. It makes a bit, the authenticity of the stuff weak. I would like to understand your view about that one. This may be weird as a person from the business looking for all this stuff, but at the end, as a human, I don't think this is the right starting point.
Well, I don't think I can add to that. I think that's a wonderful, just a fantastically well-made point. I don't think I can add to that, other than to say that I think that the use of statistics like the purchasing power is an attempt to persuade those people who might need persuading. Your point is your point is exactly what Sheryl Sandberg meant. She didn't mean anything to do with purchasing power or markets or anything. She meant marketing people and advertising people can change our culture. So she meant what you mean, and I think your point is wonderful, brilliantly put, fantastic. I think all Madonna was saying about the size of the market was, if you're not convinced, so if you're thinking, I'm not sure, then look at the bottom line. There's a financial impact here. So, but I agree with you 100%.
Any other questions we have? Here you go.
If I can start with so the question is really to the audience out here, because as members of the AMG board, we feel pretty strongly about this topic, and which is why we want to proactively take this up for our community. But one of the things that we have been discussing is that things that you might have seen out there, which is regarding objectification of women, probably doesn't really exist so much in our region. So what do you think is that one hook, or where do you think is the impetus for us within the MENA region to actually take on this agenda? We feel very passionately about it, but we definitely think it's something that we want to work on proactively. But what is that one thing that you feel as an audience that we can work on?
I think the one thing that we can work on is looking at efficiency. So if there's a genuine efficiency, so that the marketing dollars go further because you have diversity at the beginning of the process all the way through to the audience, then that's going to persuade people across the board, across the region, that diversity is important. It's got to come down to the dollars.
There's somebody else in the back as well.
Hello. So, I think you're right. Women aren't properly, obviously here because of the region and the restrictions we have in the region, women aren't necessarily objectified, but I think that through this session, I was able to see that if women are represented properly, and I think that's maybe not what we probably lack in the region, so if we were represented properly, I think that that's what would help maybe combat some of the issues that we face here.
Through the work that we do, something that I think that we struggle with quite a lot is that huge amounts of what we do goes based on assumptions about women. So we'll sit there and we'll try and consider what the insights might be, and you get a whole bunch of people in a room, and a lot of stuff that gets thrown out there, sometimes by even women themselves, as well as a lot of the guys in the room, is not necessarily based on real insight. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that the amount of research in this region, or the amount of understanding that has got that is kind of in mainstream knowledge, is quite limited. So if we've got ways that we can get better insights, or kind of money behind better studies and better research, then it means that we can work on many more healthy insights rather than assumptions, so that you're genuinely tapping into something that women need and better understanding.
So glad you brought that up, because that's one of our starting points actually, and we are starting some research with our university on that. So thank you for this.
I also think that brands need to be bolder. I take Nike's example and recent campaign that they've done, and it's also about empowering women in the way they are portrayed in the advertising, and not just about, yes, maybe we don't have the same issues in the region, but we don't necessarily see the woman as empowered. And this is one of the things that brands can do better, be bolder in the way they represent women. One thing that I would like to add as well, I drive women diversity initiatives in the region, and one of the things that we really need to do better is to work on the company culture, to really look at, when you have a specific position to fill, how many women do you actually have in the pipeline? How can you really make sure that you have the diversity angle that was mentioned?
That's it. Great, get your point, but don't just drive it from a campaign perspective, but it has
So
to be
it
led
has to
from
be
within.
both internal and obviously through the different campaigns, and it's sometimes small things. Like I'll just add one thing. I was invited once to speak at an event, and I received a message on LinkedIn from a woman telling me, "Did you look at the speakers list? Most of them are men." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't notice," because obviously you get approached to speak, you confirm the slot, and you only receive the final list at the end. So what we've done is we really got in touch, or I got in touch with a large network of women, and I said, "We need more women, help me get speakers." And we have managed, obviously, to get a better representation. And it's one of the things I never really thought about in the past. And I feel that the small things will make a difference. It's not just about, the big ideas or the big initiatives. It's starting with these small things, and then obviously the big stuff as well.
I think building on my colleagues' also statements, I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that this is going to be a gradual process. The nature of gender bias in this region is perhaps different, and we are also faced with political reality and social reality that is not quite what we see in other parts of the world. So we need to be cognizant. There is also the religious pressure. So these are elements that we cannot discount. I think it would perhaps be good to look into how we can tag along things that are already being adopted by governments. So some governments are talking about women in business, for example, or keeping girls in school, or similar initiatives. Even some governments are daring to tackle very sensitive topics like female genital mutilation, for example. These are things that are extremely sensitive. There's not one size fits all, but I think the art would be to tag along in each individual, perhaps cluster or big country in the region, on one of those government initiatives, and so that we can go with the flow. I'm not personally very convinced that by shocking the system we get things changed here. Actually, we're probably more likely to create a lot of enemies, and our message will be taken over. But if we can manage to tag along existing initiatives, that will get us a foot in the door, and then we can gradually afford to become bolder as we go forward. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a point because I've seen some pretty interesting statistics. I've seen a pretty interesting statistic from the Dubai Business Women's Council. And it said that almost about 30 or 40% of women leaders in the UAE probably are women. Now, I wasn't really aware, so it kind of stuck out. And my question really is, are we even reflecting that in our advertising? And I think a lot of it, and the point that we're trying to make today, is that a lot of us as larger advertisers and companies, it's easier to perpetuate that stereotype rather than look. And I think what we're really lucky is that in this region, there's so much of change happening. You look at the UAE, you look at Saudi, and are we as advertisers reflecting a lot of that change? So I think that's the big opportunity. But thank you for all your inputs, because it was a discussion that we as the ABG board were kind of having, and it's really good to hear that from you.
I think there was one point.
One more lady as well.
Just to close this discussion, I think that the focus should be for brands to make an actual change at the grassroots level through their impacts, and not just do campaigns focusing on gender diversity to be topical, to be relevant, and to be fashionable. There should be a focus on actual impact of their campaigns. Thank you.
Well, I think with that, let's say thank you again to Phil.
Thank you.
I think we're all excited, especially in terms of what we can do next year with Dubai Lynx.